Hey folks, we're going to be looking at our control statements here from chapter 2. That's our if else, and those sorts of, whether or not we're going to run this block of code or that block of code. And then our loops, we're going to use while loops and for loops. They all work pretty much the exact same way you're familiar with from Java land, so it should go relatively quickly through this. If you want more details, happy to talk a little bit more about it here, but it's pretty straightforward. So we can do some quick checks. We can say something like, hey, if, and then in parentheses, we could say 7 is less than 2, a set of curly braces, else another set of curly braces. Right? Just like Java land, like it looks pretty much identical when we're looking at these things here. Then we could say, here we echo 7 is less than 2. Otherwise, we'd echo 7 is not less than 2, which it should be pretty straightforward that it's not. So we'll just submit to that form. We see 7 is not less than 2. Life is good with our if statement here. Right? It goes to the correct location. So it's not bad. Now, some weird things though. Right? When we deal with strings, actually, which is really nice, we can say, hey, if first name equals Eric. I don't need to do all that nonsense checking, string dot equals whatever here. You can use the double equal sign. So here we might say, hi, Eric. And then otherwise, maybe we'll say, you aren't Eric. Sure. And you can do a quick little check here with this. So I can then say, all right, let's go back. And we'll put in Eric for first name and test for last name. We'll see, hi, Eric. If we go back and I put in test for my first name, we'll get, you aren't Eric. And that one works out pretty well for strings, which is really nice. But the funny thing here, this double equal sign is actually super flexible. So let me put another statement in here. Let's say, how about first name equals 10? Because why not here? You are named 10, and we'll just be like kind of incredulous here. And then otherwise we'll say you aren't 10. Now notice this 10 is not in quotes though. This is not the string 10. This is the numeric 10. Right? That's numeric value 10. So test and test, you aren't 10. Right? Makes sense. You aren't Eric and you aren't 10. But now if I put 10 in here and I submit that, we say you're named 10. So the value, right, is a string value because we're getting string values out here from first name and last name. We didn't say, hey, you need to be a numeric type or anything. The string value matches the numeric value. So PHP actually tries to convert them for you to see if they match. So if you want a stricter checking here, you can use a triple equals, which is identical here. So the triple equals is for identical, which means same value and same type. So please don't try and change the type on me here. We will check for identical, and if I resubmit that, we'll say, now you aren't 10, because we gave you the string of 10, not the numeric 10. It's not going to come up all that often, but weird stuff can happen. So just be a little careful with that there as well. Right, and then if we want to do some loops here, right, we just do some loops. So we can say, hey, how about while, actually we probably need a value here, so let's say like counter is 1, and while counter is less than 10, let's echo a line break and counter. Right? We'll just get 1 through 10 here. So same idea. The condition goes inside the parentheses, set of curly braces. All the code inside the curly braces run. Then we come back and check, is the condition true? Yep, let's run it again. So right now I actually have an infinite loop. Right? This will just run forever, right? Once I hit that page, because I never increased counter. So the page never loads because my server never finishes this here. So this is actually real bad. We don't want to do that. So we want to make sure we are increasing counter, right? Because infinite loops will hurt. It will definitely hurt. Can I stop? There we go. Yeah, we'll cancel the page and see if I can refresh it here. Stop, refresh, continue. Did I get it that time? Maybe I didn't save it. I'll make sure it's saved. I think I upset my page here. There we go. And now we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, now it worked. We got rid of that infinite loop. So you can do while loops. It's the same idea sort of here. Now, we talked a little bit about, usually you want your PHP code at the top and then echoes down below. So this is kind of actually ugly to do all these echoes right inside of here. It might be better than, we'll say, let's go put a variable up here for, how about some output here, and we'll start that off as a string, and then I'll do my loop here, and then instead of echoing counter, I'm going to take my output and I'll just append to it the string value here this way. Then down below, I can just echo out my output. So this is going to be a lot cleaner for me here. I can just say, hey, I want to echo my output variable, rather than doing all of this code right inside of the HTML section. This is probably a little bit more proper. Now, it's not going to look any different, or it shouldn't look any different. All we've done is we've built a string up above and then just echoed it when we're done here. That's probably a little bit more proper here for our loops. And then for loops, again, work the exact same way as well. So we'll do another one with the for loop. So we'll say for, now you don't have to say the type though. So we'll just say, hey, we probably don't want to call this one counter because we already had a counter. So we'll do this one as index, I don't know, as 0, index is less than 10, oh, sorry, $sign. PHP has all these $sign variables, they're fun. And then $index plus plus. So let's take the output and how about we add in the index. Right, so we'll just get another set of that loop there. Test and test. So now we'll get, now this time we started at 0 instead of 1, so we just repeat it again. So our for loop, again, works the same way like they did in Java land. Just loops through variables. So you can declare the variable. Again, you don't need the type because PHP is typeless. Right? If it looks like an int, it's an int. It works out pretty well that way here. So we can use our loops for those. And then the last thing to look at is passing control between pages. So you can actually, it's essentially embed one page inside of another with include. So if you have a page that you want to include inside of another page, and this works out really well for things like nav. So if I say this is nav here, and the only thing I want to put in nav then is a link here. So this is an href equals, we'll say index.php. We'll call this one home. And that's enter. So A's are anchors. They're links here. And then we can have an A href for view PHP. And we'll call this one our view A. So that's the only thing this PHP file has is these two things. So what we could do in any PHP section here, so in our body then, we could say, hey, I want to have a PHP block. And I want to include the view.php file. So we'll just say, hey, go include means go take this, everything inside that file. Oh, I'm sorry, not view, that was supposed to be nav. Oops, nav. Take nav and take everything inside of it and just jam it in right where I'm doing this here. So then I can do the same thing on my my view page. Right inside my body, I can just include my view. Give this a little run here. And now we get links here for home and view. Right, it'll just take us between the two. So we don't need to have that same navigation section in every one, right? We can build it one time and then include it there. Now there's also a require option. Require is a little bit different than include in that it will fail if the file doesn't exist. So if I misspelled this and said like Nava for whatever reason, right? And I go back to my page here, that was in the view page, I get a warning here, but it doesn't crash. It's not great, you know, no such file directory. We can't find Nava PHP. Not the end of the world, but it's not great. But if I change this to require here, and I refresh now, it just stops, right? Fatal error, there's nothing else that gets processed. Just game over, we're done here. So depending on what you want, require, like if it really requires that import here, then you want to require it. If it's just nice to have, you know, maybe includes the right thing here. It's still kind of ugly to have those errors, but either one's okay. So we can use those as well. And then you could exit or die, are not super common. Exiting just ends the PHP process and stops. Sort of like a break, it just will stop. It's not super handy to have those a lot of times. Generally, there's cleaner ways to do those sorts of things. So, all right, let me commit all this here. So I've been kind of committing as we go here. So this is control statements here. And we'll commit and push that one out. And then we've pretty much covered everything we need here in chapter 2. So the last thing we want to do is talk about our project that's coming up. We'll do that in a separate video. Okay, folks? See you soon.